Good morning, good afternoon to everyone, depending on where you're calling in from. Really appreciate everyone being here today. We'll give folks a few minutes to get logged on as it's just flipped over to 1 o'clock, and then we will go ahead and get started here in just a few minutes. If you're feeling brave, you can use the chat. Brian Marcus is already on top of it to introduce yourself, tell us which organization you're coming from, and where in the world you are today. We are just going to give it one more minute as people get logged in, and then I will go ahead and kick us off. Chad and Ashley, shall we? Are we ready?
Ready?
All
Do it.
right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. For those of you I don't know, I'm Sherrod Davis. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO at EcoMap. I will be hosting today's webinar, where the topic is the connective tissue of a thriving region, how chambers are strengthening their communities from the inside out. We have two phenomenal speakers that I'm going to introduce here in just a minute. But one quick housekeeping item. If you do have a question throughout the session, just go ahead and use the Q&A. Our marketing team will be active in monitoring it, as well as the chat. And we'll try to get to as many of those questions as we can. If we don't get to those questions, typically we will provide a recap where we give our speakers the opportunity to address those questions as well. And with that, really excited to introduce today's speakers. First, we have Ashley Engels Ross. Ashley is the Vice President of Small Business at the Huntsville-Madison County Chamber of Commerce, where she leads the Chamber's Small Business Office and the Women's Business Council, spearheading initiatives that strengthen and connect the small business community with the resources available to them. Under her leadership, collaboration among startups, established businesses, resource partners, and investors has expanded, creating pathways for small businesses to start, grow, and scale. Her work focuses on curating impactful programming, advancing entrepreneurship, and driving community engagement. We also have Chad Hammond. Chad began his career in 1999 at the Greater Cleveland Growth Association, which became the Greater Cleveland Partnership in 2004, holding a variety of roles in market research and membership development from 2010 to 2014. He served as Vice President of Membership at the Greater Akron Chamber of Commerce. Chad rejoined GCP in 2014 and now leads small business membership sales, member engagement, and the portfolio of member benefits program for GCP's small businesses arm, COSE, Council of Smaller Enterprises. As a part of GCP's all-in strategic plan, Chad oversees the regional growth metrics for small and mid-sized enterprises. Ashley, Chad,
Yes. Woohoo.
thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here. Thanks for asking.
Um, Before we get into the work itself, I know we have a wide variety of folks in the audience, so would love to just quickly level set, because I think it's easy to assume we're all talking about the same thing when we say chamber. Ashley, Huntsville is considered a large chamber for your region, and Chad, GCP is considered one of the largest chambers in the country. What does size actually mean in this context? And does it change what you're able to do for your members? I'll ask Ashley first.
Hey there. Yeah. And again, thank you, Sharad, for asking me to participate. This is so much fun. So, the Huntsville Chamber of Commerce, Huntsville, Madison County, and it is in Alabama. We have 2,100 members. So, for our region, that is a lot. The next closest Chamber of Commerce probably has about 500 members. Does it impact what you're able to do? It certainly does. But I think for the size of chamber that we are, we do quite a bit. We have, let's see, government affairs, talent initiatives, economic development, and then the small business arm. So we have about 30 employees at our chamber. So we're hosting multiple programs a month. Our large events average anywhere between 700 and 1,200 people. So we have a best places to work program that we will host this Thursday that has 700 registrants. Our small business awards will have roughly 1,200. Our government affairs events typically have between 1,000 and 1,200 people on a regular basis. So we do very well, I think, for our region, which is North Alabama. The top or the northernmost 13 counties of Alabama, and we even creep into three counties in Tennessee.
Wow, very cool. Chad, from where you sit, does scale change the mission or just the complexity of executing it?
Great question, and thank you also for inviting me to be a participant in this great conversation. Yeah, so scale for us is something different. Obviously, we have 12,000 member companies throughout Ohio, but mostly concentrated in Northeast Ohio and Greater Cleveland. There's some statewide chambers that are bigger than us, members wise. But as far as a metro city goes and a regional chamber goes, we're up there as pretty much the largest. So the thing that drives 11,000 small businesses within our membership for us has been a large health plan. We have a self-funded plan for small businesses since after the Affordable Care Act came along, and it doesn't fit for everybody, but it's a big driver for us, and it certainly enables us to bring in a large swath of small businesses and certainly help them through a group purchasing standpoint. And once they're in for that, we're able to add value in a number of other ways, other group savings programs, but also education on small business issues for business owners. Uh, Typically, networking and government advocacy is a big thing for us at the federal and state level as well. So, for our region, economic development is tough. It's hard because there's so many municipalities, county governments. Our region is roughly 3.8 million in population. We're the 17th largest metro in the U.S. We're the third largest in the Midwest, and we're a top 15. I think we're 14th in media market. So
Wow.
that's why we have three Major League Baseball or Major League Football, baseball, basketball teams in town due to the strength of that media market and the size and scale of our region. So, yeah, it's across 17 counties in Greater Cleveland, Northeast Ohio. Economic development, business growth. It covers a lot of ground and a lot of government entities and those kinds of things as well from an economic development standpoint. So that it having us be able to leverage AI and other tools to collect information has been a big transition lately.
Yeah, we will definitely get into that, Chad. And big win for the Cavs last night as well. Actually, Huntsville has this extraordinary growth story. We've talked a little bit about it, but I want to dig in with you for the audience. Aerospace, defense, space command, enormous private investment. From where you sit at the chamber, what's the ground level reality for small businesses trying to grow inside that boom?
Oh, whew, that's a great question. I think if we had the perfect answer, man, it would be even hotter than it already is. I think
Yeah.
we've seen like 30% growth since the last census. And then, of course, with the most recent announcement that you mentioned with Space Command, and even the Golden Dome announcement, that will impact our community greatly. You know, it really, um, we have such a variety of businesses. We have a huge number of defense contractors. We obviously have that base, that government base here. And then we have all of our other businesses. Our size of business varies dramatically from, you know, we've got huge prime contractors like Lockheed Martin and Booz Allen. And then we have a lot of companies that are under 10 people. I think over 50% of our companies, or probably 85% of our member companies, are fewer than 50 people. Um, so you know, when you talk about where they are, there's a lot of engagement. I mentioned the kind of attendance and registration that we get. Businesses in our community are trying to engage in any way that they can. They're trying to learn about what's happening, what's coming. There's obviously been a lot of people have been hesitant over businesses in particular have been hesitant over the last year, just with all of the different things, the government shutdown, budgets changing. So I think that there's a lot of excitement. I don't want to understate that. There is a lot of excitement about what's coming. And people right now, companies right now are just really trying to gather information and learn about what is coming next.
Yep. Um, and so for you, Chad, in Greater Cleveland, I know you all are navigating sort of your own evolution from the deep manufacturing roots to now trying to evolve into energy, AI, biotech. What are the businesses in your ecosystem dealing with right now amidst some of that change?
Yeah, it runs the gamut as well. You know, we're also a NASA city. We have a NASA facility here, and we do a lot of advocacy to keep that place strong and operating. And of course, then all of the suppliers and vendors and all of that are small businesses that contribute to that and are beneficiaries of that as well. But you know, I think a lot of what our small businesses need are just the connection to community. That's what they come to us for. You know, we're not specialists in startups, but there's a throughout our ecosystem, there are a number of programs, nonprofits, government run programs as well that are. And, you know, there's mentorship programs and business coaching programs and all of these things. And so, you know, they come to us in that early stage, really before they're considering us for membership. They're coming to us for help with navigation. And so it's incumbent upon us to know, you know, in which county and which city these different resources reside, and where's the best next place to get them to for those right resources that they're looking for, whether it's access to capital or business certifications or business planning or whatever the need is. It could be any number of hundreds of places potentially that we could land them. So and then once we do that, a lot of times they remember, oh, I came to Cozy or GCP and they helped me. Now that I'm up and running, you know, they can help me get connected in a number of other ways. And that's a lot of what we hear from our members is, this is my community. This is my entrepreneurial community. I'm in the room with other business owners that go to sleep at night, wake up in the morning thinking about their business in the same ways that I do. And so that's how we sort of bring that sense of community together around these business owners.
I'm going to ask both of you to give a specific example um, where there's a real situation, someone comes to you, Ashley, or comes to you, Chad, and you open a door for that business owner in a way that, like, without that connection, that business owner gets stuck or doesn't get to where they need to go. Just help us sort of ground the role of a chamber within a small business ecosystem, both in Huntsville and in Greater Cleveland. Ashley, I'll start with you.
Yeah, you know, so this happened actually just the other day and happens very frequently. Like Chad said, there are a lot of resources out in the community, but knowing which one to go to and what exactly they can provide is a problem that a lot of our business owners will tackle. So when you talk about somebody that comes in, or I get a phone call, we get all kinds of phone calls, but they call the chamber and they need a business license, or they need, you know, something like that. Well, I can send them directly to the city to get their business license, um, or or I can send them to the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center that we all know about. And that those are just, the SBDC is frequently confused with the SBA. The SBDC is sometimes confused with the chamber. And so people are trying to figure out where to go and how to find everything. Um, and I get those calls probably on a regular basis. Uh, but I think what I hear the most from folks is that if I hadn't talked to the chamber, I don't know how many phone calls or messages I would have left before I understood who I really needed to talk to. And so that's probably the most frequent that
Yeah.
I get.
Playing that air traffic controller
Yeah,
role, so to
yeah,
speak.
very
Uh,
much.
Chad, how about for you?
Yeah, a lot of those very similar questions and needs for connection come to us as well. But one resource that I like to, or one instance that I like to paint a picture of is, we had a couple of restaurants or a restaurant group that came to us. They own 4 or 5 different places, and they came to us and said, "Hey, we opened up in a new facility. It was owned formerly by another restaurant, and we're opening up a new place in it. And the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Comp saddled us with the bad claims of the previous company. And it's an issue called successor liability. And at the state level in Ohio, we're monopolistic. It's run by the state government. And so you have to do it, and you don't have much choice. But we do have a chamber program that we leverage a TPA with. But the company came to us and said, we're going to have to shut this business down because we can't afford the rates that they want to charge us. And we've seen it, we've heard it from a couple of other restaurateurs in town as well. And so we got them around the table. We started talking, having a conversation. We took it to our legislators who connected us with the leadership at the Bureau of Workers' Comp, and basically got them to implement a workaround because administratively they just decided, well, there's a lot of restaurants that, they have problems or they go bankrupt or they have issues and they close down and then they reopen in maybe a spouse's name or, something a little shady. And so we're just going to preempt that by saddling the next business that opens up in the same space with the previous workers' comp liability. And so we were like, this is not fair. It's not equal. It through a couple of information verifications that they simply added to their application. They were able to show new ownership, new contact, bona fide information in it within basically a couple of clicks, and it was able to solve that issue. And so the restaurants in town, that word got out that we were able to help with that, and so they were pretty appreciative of that. That was like the one real issue that we were able to solve for somebody, and it happens in other areas, but that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one of the things that we love about working with chambers is there's any number of things that small business owners, members will come to you all with. And so our chamber customers, we've learned are just super resourceful in how they think about providing those member owners with resources and opportunities. And at EcoMap, we're happy to play a small part in all of that. A question from the audience. I'm going to direct this at Ashley because you mentioned SBDC.
Mhm.
When you have a lot of scale, like when your ecosystem is growing, there's a lot of small
Mhm.
business owners, et cetera. This question talks about, have you run into any issues with your SBDC being backed up, right? Like not able to actually deliver the
Mhm.
level of support that maybe members need? And how might you deal with that? Does that come back to you all, impact what you're able to do in any way? And how might you support some of your ecosystem partners to make sure that there is sort of this continuum of support in the Huntsville-Madison area?
Absolutely. I think especially coming out of COVID, and the SBDC had been here in our offices, and then everyone went home. And then it was a little trickier to reach them. They've now relocated and done a pretty good job of dealing with that. But if someone were to come to us and with additional problems, or you can take the small business license as an example. If they had reached out to the SBDC, we're still able to, especially in that example, I can send them straight to the city. We are also very fortunate that we have other organizations. We have an entrepreneurship center. We have an incubator and several other accelerators in the community that we're able to send people um, to get help. Usually, if I'm getting a phone call at that point, it's a specific need, and I can direct them pretty quickly to a specific resource. But I will say that, I'm not the end all be all. I don't know every resource that's out there, but every one of those partners, like the Catalyst Center, they are also a wealth of information. And so I have found that when you start sending, I can get you to another person that will have additional information. We're usually able to get those questions answered, and I don't typically get a third phone call.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Ashley, you run Propel,
I
best place
do.
to work. We
Hmm.
were talking about a little bit in the
Yeah,
pre-show,
yeah.
the C-suite series.
Hmm.
You just mentioned several other ecosystem partners. How do you make sure a member who touches one of those programs finds their way to everything else that could help them? What does that connective layer typically look like so you don't get that third phone call, for example?
Right, right. Well, first of all, anytime we host one of those events and we tell people to attend those events for the ability to network. We have a very robust calendar. We are open to meet with members as best we can. And then we did expand that resource network, and that's where EcoMap came in. And we opened our small business resource hub, or we launched that. And so that was also launched out of my office. And what that is meant to do really was to help small business owners as well as entrepreneurs and founders not only connect with the programming at the chamber, right? The chamber has a very well put together website. We have an incredible marketing team. We have a great events calendar, but we know that we have other resource partners that are trying to help and provide resources out in the community. Another one is HASBAT. That's a networking group that offers technical small businesses, really specific to the defense industry. And so that's what some of our members really need. Well, through the Small Business Resource Hub and the calendar that we put on that, ooh, I got a flyaway back here. It's going to make me crazy. We were able to direct people to that calendar so that they can find, maybe they don't necessarily want a breakfast in biz or a business after hours or a tech networking program that we offer here, but they really want to be able to meet with other companies that are working in defense, that are small business oriented, that have a program every month that with someone from the arsenal that's usually speaking. So we've really layered the resources that we make available, not only through events, but through listings on like that small business resource hub in an attempt to help people find and navigate what all is available in the community.
Yeah. Um, Chad, GCP built an AI-powered tool that lets members instantly search hundreds of regional resources and get answers in plain language. Walk us through what was broken before that and what was a member actually experiencing versus what they're experiencing today.
Yeah, so our EcoMap now has, I think we've indexed over 900 resources across our several counties. And um, imagine doing that without an AI tool. Like I said, we are not geared to be hands-on, providing technical assistance to startups. Our programs and services are really geared for that, once you're started up or once you brought on employees and you're really in operation. But we still get the questions. And so, um, we had over the years just kind of compiled our own lists of frequent places that we referred people to. It grew into a very large spreadsheet, and it even grew into a couple of summers in a row. Our summer intern was spending all summer researching all of the different organizations and their programs and who was the primary contact, and who qualified for which programs and those kinds of things, just so we have our own index. And we got to thinking about, geez, the time that we're spending, the resources that we're spending on keeping information up to date, just so we can answer questions. Most of whom the questions we were answering weren't even for our own members yet. They were for early stage businesses. Um, and really we saw the ability or the need for um, a tool like this that we could put out there and really help the ecosystem. There is, like I say, there's so many different programs around town and around our region that it depends on, where you were coming into the ecosystem from, whether you were working with an SBDC or working with the SBA or a business coach, or maybe it's your accountants, or you name it, in getting started and looking for the resources. They may not have been real educated. They may have one or two go-to places each. And so we saw this as a gap. And in talking with a number of the ecosystem partners that are out there, it was identified as something that would be really helpful to have one central place where sort of everything could reside. And so now that we have that, we're just letting them all know, hey, this is here. Use it for your staff. At a lot of these nonprofit organizations, there's a high amount of turnover, maybe more so than in, private sector jobs. And so, that information doesn't stay. It goes with the people as they leave. And so, we just wanted to make sure that these people know, these organizations know this resource is here. And, whether it's the small business that's starting up that's looking for the resource, or it's a staff person at one of these nonprofits or government agencies that may be helping to navigate a client or working on behalf of a client, they can use it as well, just to help navigate those clients that they're working with to the next best resource that they may not be able to find. Could be the next county over. Like in Cleveland, in the city proper, we have 3 SBDCs.
Wow.
It could, and then you get out into the other counties, and there's at least one in each county. So the nice thing is, back to that other question that you asked Ashley, in our area, our SBDCs are sort of area agnostic. And if somebody has just a different comfort level, or maybe they didn't have a great experience at one, without rolling anybody under the bus, we can say, okay, maybe just go work with this other one, and let's get your referral over there. So it does give us options and flexibility that way too. So
Yeah. And I just love how both of you all are using it to sort of forge connections with other organizations that are
Mhm.
operating in the same geography with shared goals, et cetera. Like that's something we take a lot of pride in enabling at EcoMap. What is something, I'll start with Ashley. What's something the chamber does today, a tool, process, way of working that didn't exist 2 years ago? So much has changed in the last 2 years.
Holy moly.
Um, and what does it actually mean for a member when a chamber evolves? And then I'll come to you with the same question, Chad.
Um, ooh, okay, so there's three big things, but I will say this. A lot of our programming is open to the entire community. Now, when we talk about competing, like Best Places to Work or the Small Business Awards, anyone in our community is welcome to attend those events, but only members can compete in one of those events. Just to kind of help people understand. So probably the three things in the last 2 years that have started, we started a Defense Technology Accelerator in our Cummings Research Park. We hosted PROPEL, which is a Small Business and Entrepreneur Summit, and then we launched the Small Business Resource Hub. And I think they did two things. I guess they did two things for the community as well as for our members, which was we really dug in to helping entrepreneurs and founders get a start and get their feet on the ground and kind of latch in to what is available here in the community. Um, and that's across the board. Those folks didn't have to be members. It was just to engage in that entrepreneurial ecosystem in the community. What it did, I would say, for our members is it helped all of those founders and very small businesses see the chamber and all and the benefit of all of our members. And so helped our members engage in this ecosystem that maybe before they weren't as engaged with. Um, I think another thing that we hope we did, just in regards to connection, the whole intent of Propel, the Entrepreneur Summit, was to bring resource organizations into the same space as small business owners, as well
Mm.
as these founders. And so that's what Propel was. We had the SBDC there. We had the Catalyst Center that you heard me mention. We had organizations that offer support for professionals like the Human Resource Association. Huntsville Utilities was there so that we were providing connections for small business owners as well as founders and entrepreneurs.
Amazing. Chad, same question to you. What's something the chamber does today that didn't exist 2 years ago, and what does that actually change for a member?
Yeah. Technology is for us, it's kind of it's been a tough challenge, both for us to invest in it and to leverage it in the right ways. And let me give you an example. Because of our size and the volume of members, like this year, we're averaging 140 new members a month. Um, which is that's even busy for us that by our standards. That's a lot. Usually in a month like May or April, we're doing 50 or 60. So our health plans are doing really well against the competition, and so it's just driving a lot of traffic. Well, last year we were finally able to. Some people are going to be surprised by this. We were finally able to bring an online membership application to our website where people could put in their information and join with a credit card and do it all within like a 3 pages click process on our website. And um, just the ability before to stop exchanging phone calls and playing phone tag with folks, because who answers their phone anymore? Like it's unless you know exactly who's calling you or calling you back, like it's hard. And people are busy, and it's I make this joke. We feel like we've stepped into the 1990s with our technology on that side of the business. But it's been fantastic because it helps us completely rethink and actually leverage our CRM for collecting data, and it's changing our whole approach to how we onboard and do member engagement on an ongoing basis and we're beginning to create dynamic content. So we're not just doing one static member newsletter a month. we're doing that, but we're also adding things like, okay, which products are you using from us? Which events are you attending? What content are you clicking on? And being able to help customize the membership experience. And this is like the next process that we're in the middle of, but it all starts with data for us. And then you quickly leap beyond that, and now we're testing AI agents to handle some communication for us. And uh, we're constantly being challenged with being lean on staff and efficient with resources. And this is just a new way that we're changing how people are coming into the organization. And so we're sort of doubling down on what's that experience like after you've joined, and being able to customize that experience for you and help you get the most out of it without having to necessarily pick up the phone and speak to somebody every single time.
Yeah.
So very excited about where this is going. So yeah, we went from 1990s technology just in a year with an online membership application to data in our CRM getting enhanced and being leveraged in new ways, to now testing AI agents and all of those kinds of things. So it's snowballing on us pretty quickly, which is also exciting.
Yeah, exciting times indeed. We're going to pivot a little bit and talk a bit about demonstrating impact and how you both tell your stories. I'll start with Chad. GCP positions itself as the driver of economic vitality for the entire region, right? We talked about the size, sort of like the Spider-Man quote, right? Like with great power. That's a big promise. How do you all make it tangible when you're asked for a proof point from a board member or a policymaker? Like, what are some of the things that you're leaning on to demonstrate GCP is really moving the needle for the greater Cleveland region?
Yeah. So, being an older city as well, there are lots of political areas, lots of cities, lots of counties, lots of, uh, I guess, territories, if you want to call it that. But there are legacies there. And, one of the things that, when our new CEO came on in 2019, this was shortly following, you mentioned the Cavs earlier. In 2016 was our championship run. And in that year, they branded it the All In. Everybody's all in on the Cavs this year. And they did it. They went the whole way. They won the championship. And everybody still remembers that. And so when our CEO, Beju Shaw, came in 2019, he was like, look, we need to change our perception within the ecosystem. We need to change our approach. And it's now, we're all in on Cleveland. We're not all in on GCP. We're all in on Cleveland. And so, our strategy goals are not necessarily, when we talk about what GCP is doing, we're talking about moving the needle for the community. We're measuring that on business growth, income growth, jobs growth. And if those things are moving, then our work is paying off in a lot of ways. And we also stop caring about who gets the credit for things. You know, we had successfully made a bid for bringing the Republican National Convention to town. And, despite whatever your politics may or may not be, that was a big win for Cleveland. Being on the national stage and being able to share our city and our story. And, our CVB in town was out in front helping to tell the media stories and those kinds of things. And we were behind the scenes working with the CEOs in town to, deliver on the money package that needed to be, all we had to pay for security, and we had to pay for all of these other things. It was a part of the bid that we made to do it. And, none of those stories were in the newspaper, but it had to be done. And, we stopped, I guess, sort of after that process, we saw what we could do when all of our partners were all equally in and committed, that Cleveland won, and that was the big payoff. And so our plan, our strategy, being named the All In strategic plan is truly what that means. And being able to not care about who gets the credit and making sure that we live up to our role as a convener, a collaborator. Um, we've been facilitating lots of discussions with redevelopment of our lakefront and our riverfront and the professional stadiums in town, and how much of that should be paid for by public dollars versus private dollars, and all of those kinds of things. We're not telling anybody what they should or shouldn't do, but we're leading the convening table. And I don't think anybody knows that, right? It's not the headline in the newspaper. The headline in the newspaper is what gets done at the end of the day. And that's what we care about. And so nobody needs to know that we're hosting the convening table between the city, the county, the mayor, the governor, and the private businesses that are in play in those things. It's just about let's get it done for Cleveland.
Yeah. Um, Going to you, Ashley, how do you tell the chamber story to someone who looks at Huntsville's growth and assumes it's all driven by sort of federal government and big primes? Like, how do you articulate the role that the chamber plays in sort of the more holistic view of the ecosystem?
A lot of what we do is try and tell the story of the community. So if you were to go to our website, you're going to see us with videos that are telling you all about Cummings Research Park, and you're going to see all kinds of things about economic development, and you're going to see things about the small business community. And we too are very committed to Huntsville and telling the Huntsville story. So I think that because right, that's how we win. That's how we are a number one place to live, great place for tech jobs, all of these accolades that we receive. It's not just the chamber, it's our community at large. And the leaders of our community, to include the chamber, are very committed, very much like Chad said, we're committed to promoting the city that we live in and we love. And so that's how we do it.
Um, Before we open it up to other audience questions, and if you have them, please use the Q&A. Um, what do you wish, Ashley, someone had told you earlier about what it actually takes to build a thriving business ecosystem?
Oh boy. Well, when I started this job, I was a fundraiser and I came into this job. So I had a lot to learn. Um, I would say um, a collaborative spirit is easy to have, and don't get frustrated as you try and build it.
Hmm.
It's still going to take a commitment. Um, there's a lot of and a lot of people are um, collaboration is hard, but it's worth it. And that's something that you will have to dive into, commit to, and hold on to as you move through and try and develop and work to develop successful networks that your ecosystem needs and people can navigate through.
Same question for you, Chad. What do you wish someone had told you earlier about what it takes to build a thriving business ecosystem? You're muted. You're muted, Chad.
Yeah, my mute. Sorry. Yeah, if somebody actually has these specific answer to that question, I would be all ears. But for us, we view it as we don't have the answer. We're a convener. We're a listener. And if there's not somebody, and we're not going to duplicate or replicate something that somebody else is doing. So, we're going to listen to what the businesses need. They talk to us on a regular basis, either through our representative boards of advisors, our committees, those kinds of things, talking to members at events, and the questions that we get coming through. But being able to respond to those, um, I think we view it as we're an invested supporter of the ecosystem, not really trying to, build the ecosystem in our view of what it should be, or anything like that. It's more of a, we pass along feedback that we get, or if somebody says, hey, maybe there's a gap here in the ecosystem, that's where, we would go and convene some partners together and say, hey, is it really a gap? Is anybody doing something that's at least similar or close, or could be expanded upon to fill that gap? Or is this something that we need to collaborate on to, create something new, to fill that gap? And that's the way we approach it, is sort of, invested supporters of the ecosystem.
Very good. Chad and Ashley, thank you so much, especially on the heels of National Economic Development Week. It's National Small Business Month. Thank you both for what you do for Huntsville and for Cleveland. If folks want to connect with you and learn more, what's the best way for people to get in touch?
For me, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very easy to reach, even on our website. So you can hop in there and shoot me a note as well.
Yeah, same for me. LinkedIn, also through our website. Um, my contact information is on there, and I always love talking shop. Chamber talk, or just talking about what's going on in the business community, and those connective threads and tissue that we all have in common, and sort of the similarities yet differences in between our communities is always a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, and I certainly learn something every time I get a chance to talk to you both. And today was no different. Thank you both again. If you want to learn more about EcoMap, you can find us at ecomap.tech or on social at ecomap_tech. Thank you again, and I wish everyone a wonderful rest of their day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Bye,
you, Sharon,
guys.
for having us.